And welcome into the Friday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. For homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in, visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Hope everybody's off to a good start on this Friday morning. And as always, we welcome your thoughts throughout the show. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. Joe, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Not great. Not great.
Not a great day on the show today. We didn't really know how this show was going to go. I mean, there's obviously last night a lot of stuff going around on social media about Wes Rucker. And, we didn't know if by the time we started the show today, what was actually going to be out there and reported rather than just what was being speculated on social media. But if you missed it last night, and if you're just waking up this morning, longtime reporter Wes Rucker, who, if you've been around Tennessee athletics, I mean, good Lord, I was thinking about this last night, Joe. I mean, he may have been like the first 5 people I interacted with on Twitter at one point when that all started. Like, if you've been around Tennessee athletics or followed Tennessee athletics for a long time, you know who Wes Rucker is. Friend of this show. He has passed away at the age of 43 with a car accident yesterday, and that was all over the place last night on social media, and that has since been confirmed and is now being thrown out there in terms of reporting. Adam Sparks has come out with a piece at the Knoxville News Sentinel, and a lot of stuff coming out this morning. So obviously, I mean, that is very, very tough news for someone that we knew, someone we had on this show, but more importantly to his family. It's just an awful situation. And frankly, like, it's hard to even really consider like opening talking about, let's just talk about sports. Let's talk about football and the basketball game coming up this weekend, and Wes Rucker passing away at the age of 43.
Yeah, it's just terrible. It's just terrible. And it's, you it's also like, this is awful too. And it's like, how do you have these two things together, but Jaden Bailey has passed away as well.
Yep.
17-year-old, Lebanon high school. We've talked about him before.
You did a story on him.
Did a story on him. Tennessean did a story on him. A lot of people have sort of, have been around that situation. 17, like I said, osteosarcoma. I mean, just incredible. He got his left arm amputated, was playing well this year. So he has passed as well. It's a lot of tragedy all at once. So there's no roadmap for this. I mean, we've had shows before where things happen in the world and we sort of went off the beaten path. I don't really know how to handle it, but I'll say that Wes, I mean, like, I've been here 10 years. Like, he was the guy on that beat that he just is just the dominant voice,
Yep.
In that press box. And he's been covering him since 2000, which by my math means basically since he got to Tennessee as a freshman. Right. And just such a great journalist and great person. And, Mike Wilson, also a good friend of ours, friend of the show, and who I've known since he was in college up at Michigan State, got the job covering Tennessee. And so, it was like, hey, can we, you introduce me to any people? So I, came down to cover a game, and I got some people together. And the first person I thought was, he's got to get to know Wes, got to hang out with Wes. So Wes and Lauren came out the first time I met Lauren, and, she's just a really great person. And, yeah, it's tough.
Yep, very tough. And, it's obviously there's so many people kind of weighing in on this online. And again, we didn't know how this was going to go today in terms of what was officially going to be out there and what wasn't. And we've had Wes on the show several times. And, one of the things that I guess that's been a common talking point from all this, from people that are all over Vol Twitter, like Wes. I think one of the I didn't know Wes personally. I don't know that I ever actually met Wes in person, but we had him on the show several times, and I've interacted with him on social media, and I think for Tennessee fans, like, you kind of felt like you knew him, right? Like, he was one thing about Wes is he was always willing to put his opinion out there, and he really didn't care what you thought about it. He interacted with you, and he let you respond to him. And look, he took a lot of crap on social media, and he always handled that really well. We've had Wes on the show several times where we were making fun of something he said or did, and he always responded to it really well and handled that, and had thick enough skin to be able to have conversations on that front. And that's kind of, I've seen a lot of people all over social media last night and into this morning basically talking about that, about how that's a skill set that not a lot of people have, of just being able to deal with what we know is a massive and sometimes crazy fan base with Tennessee, and to be able to have the type of personality and skin to deal with everything that comes with that, and do it on a day-to-day basis. Like Wesley did it every day. He interacted with his readers, he interacted with his listeners every day. And, it's the same with us here on the show. Like, he wasn't afraid to have, disagreements and conversations with people and still be friendly at the end of the day. So that part of it, has been pretty universal in terms of the reaction to his passing and people offering their thoughts and their condolences. And again, it's just a horrific situation. I mean, there's no other way to really describe it. It's a horrific situation. And obviously our thoughts and prayers are specifically with his family during this time, and obviously the people that knew him really well, but just a lot of outpouring of kind of their memories of people rolling today from Wes Rucker.
Yeah, no, he definitely tweeted a lot.
He did.
And
he did.
No, it is an amazing, he because I basically stopped engaging on a lot of things on social media, because it's like it's hard to do it and then like not be mean sometimes.
Yes.
and
he could do it.
Somehow he was able to do it. I mean, and he seemed to love it. And a few months ago he had to make a transition, from 24/7 after working there for so long.
Yep.
Which still boggles my mind. But of course he goes to TV, and he was just killing it there, killing it on TV. I mean, it's beyond the personal relationships. I mean, that's, again, it's like, it's hard to not come back to the family, but man, it's such a loss for Vols fans. If you're a Vols fan who didn't regularly read him, I don't know what you were doing. That's one of the first things I found out here too, is, when I got here in 2016, is like, who are you absolutely going to read? Of course, people I worked with, of course, like John Adams,
yeah.
Right. And things like that. But I mean, like, you read what Wes had after every game or during the week, because it was always interesting. It was always funny, creative, and he just had a great sense for everything, and it's just, I mean, I really hope that I hope there's a seat left open for him for a long time.
Well, in every sport too, right? Like, it was interesting. That was the other thing last night. It was like, obviously Tennessee football is a huge thing and people love Tennessee football, but there are so many people that like were sharing their stories last night of either a moment that stood out to them, that they interacted with Wes, or that they met Wes, or that they read something. Like, a lot of people were talking about, the baseball national championship, or, they met him at a basketball game. Like, it wasn't just the football part of it. Like, he was plugged in and involved with like all the sports up there.
Yeah. I mean, I think really, I don't know if I ever asked Wes this, but I think if he had to make a choice, I think he might have picked basketball or baseball.
Yeah.
He was, he was well versed, and that's the thing. You look around that beat, and a lot of it, for the most part, at all the outlets, it's pretty much split up, Um, Sparks does football, and then Mike does basketball and baseball, and you see the same thing at VolQuest and 24/7. But Wes was just did everything, and yeah, people had fun with him. I mean, you know, Mike and Grant Ramey, would sign him up for like every possible promotional email, just to load it in. I mean, but again, he took all that stuff well. He sort of invited it sometimes,
Yeah.
and he took it all in stride.
Yeah, again, there's not really a roadmap for this. It's a horrific situation. Wes Rucker passing away yesterday at the age of 43. Obviously, we're going to get into some sports a little bit later in the show. We do have Casey Alexander that's going to join us at 7:30 from Belmont basketball, and a great year that they're having. So looking forward to having him on the show later. We got TD for his weekly visit coming up at 8 o'clock, but there really wasn't another way for us to start the show. I mean, it's just a horrific situation, and we know a lot of you read Wes Rucker, that enjoyed Wes Rucker, and we'll take your thoughts on all that on the text line as well, 615-737-1025. Wes Rucker passing away at the age of 43. More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home with the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Again, the passing of Wes Rucker yesterday at the age of 43, passing away in a car accident. And a lot of reaction rolling in on that. I mean, obviously, it's a tough day for Falls fans, tough day for people who read and followed Wes Rucker and who knew Wes Rucker as well. And again, to highlight this point, I mean, the prayers are with his family. That's where kind of it's hard to move past that part of it. Is just the family part of this. And there's all sorts of tributes continuing to roll in, both on the text line, on the YouTube chat, and all over social media is where, I saw Peter Burns tweeting about this, like obviously if you've been involved with the SEC, like you've probably come into contact with Wes Rucker at some point over the last 25 years. But it's going even beyond that. Like people at ESPN are weighing in, people at NBC I've seen weighing in. There's all sorts of people that have come. I guess, at the end of the day, Joe, it's the sports media circle is, even though it's gotten bigger, it's still not that big. And if you've been around for as long as Wes has been around, it's a lot of people know Wes Rucker and offering their thoughts today.
Yeah, and look, first of all, there aren't that many people, I don't think, who are on the same beat for 25 years. I was on the Michigan State beat. I guess I was on the Michigan State beat for, if you count student, about that long before I came here. That's a long time. But again, there are a lot of people who have covered Tennessee for a long time over there. Yep. A lot of people do a great job. But again, Wes was different in that. I think it's a great beat in terms of, people talking to each other and generally getting along. Every beat's competitive, but Wes was just sort of, the almost like the social director of the press box. He was the one guy I promise you that more people knew him, more people on the, around the beat on the fringes, but also from other media coming in, covering other teams, national media, whatever. He was just a friendly, sociable guy, And I was talking about Mike Wilson and introduced him like Mike Wilson's wedding, which I guess was almost 2 years ago. I just sat and drank beer with Wes and Lauren all night, and Ben McKee and his wife. And
yep.
Sorry.
No. You're all good.
Thought I'd do better.
Yeah, it's just a really tough day. A really tough day. And again, it's you just don't expect something like this. And I think it's a reminder of, and I saw people talking about this last night. I saw some Vols fans. Look, we talked about this earlier. Wes had to put up with a lot of crap on Vol Twitter too, and he was always willing to do it. And I saw some Vols fans last night that were basically like, you know what? I gave Wes so much crap over the years, and there's just, a feeling of, I saw some people were like, I'm just so regretful for that right now, but he always handled it so well. And, it's social media, right? So it's Twitter, and you sometimes lose sight that there's, an actual other person on the other side of these things. And again, like Wes, it never bothered Wes, or at least it never seemed to. Like he always just engaged with people, but like it's just the reaction from Tennessee fans. In some ways, like I said, I didn't know. I don't know that I ever actually met Wes in person, but last night I was just like devastated by this because you feel like you know him, right? Like, and I think I could speak for a lot of Tennessee fans. Like, I've been reading Wes Rucker since I was a kid, right? And like I said, I don't know that I ever actually met him. Matter of fact, I know that I didn't ever actually meet him. But you felt like last night, and in some ways, a member of like your extended family's gone because you've just been familiar with somebody for as long as you have. It's just it's a tribute to him, number one, in the work that he did, but it's also, I think, a tribute of kind of the guy that he was. I felt like I knew him in some ways.
Yeah. Well, he was a friend of the show too.
For sure. Yeah.
When he woke up or when he wasn't, occupied. I was looking through some texts. I do have a few like, oh man, I'm really sorry about that. Well, next time, well, won't happen next time. But we had them on a lot, and
we do have a very early show, by the way.
that is true.
It starts very early.
They are in Eastern time, but yes, we do have an early show. No, it's just it's I've been texting with some other people on the beat, and it's just like doesn't seem real. But some just the way he covered that team. Yeah, I mean it is like if you go to his. I feel like if you go to his mentions on a lot of things, and and he was outspoken politically too, and he wasn't afraid to express those views and went back and forth. And it's like, but again, went back and forth kindly with people. Okay, do your thing, man. But like even like Vol's opinions, I feel like you could go on any of his many tweets and find people just going off on him.
Yeah.
But I did see a lot of that last night, which is like, I gave him a lot of crap, but also like I depended on him, and it's just, if you just take it away from the personal side of things and just coverage of the Vols, I mean, it's just that alone. Didn't know him. It's just his coverage. It's a gigantic loss.
Well, and then, he had I can tell you, look, we know this, Joe. There's not a lot of Josh Heupel press conferences that are especially noteworthy. Like Heupel doesn't say a whole lot when he gets up in front of the microphone. We've talked about that before. I mean, I do remember a couple instances where he's just like giving it to Wes, and they're going back and forth there, and it's pretty funny, right? Like, but again, that kind of goes to what we've been talking about with Wes. Like, he was not afraid to be on the receiving end of some stuff, and always took it in stride, and then went back at you, which was a lot of fun there. So like I was thinking about that last night, just a couple of playful things from Heupel at a press conference, but it kind of, I think, layered in all that, there was a respect for the job that he did, right? Like there was a respect from all the coaches and players that he dealt with of the job that he did on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, no doubt. Probably. Well, I don't know if maybe Rick talked yesterday, so I was gonna say, yeah, probably the day before the game. You probably won't talk today, but yeah, I mean, Wes was in there mixing it up with everybody, and there was a mutual respect. There was also, and to me, this is a credit to Wes. I remember a few years ago, I think some of those guys from that team with Santiago Vescovi and Josiah James, I mean, some of those guys got ticked off at him a few notable times, about questions that frankly were just fair questions, like some, because that team, of course, those teams did have some issues finishing games and things like that, and so I do remember that. And again, it wasn't anything especially contentious, but just Wes, asking the questions that you have to ask too, I mean, he did that kind of the same way. Everything good's going on, same kind of question. Something bad's going on. You're just trying to find out, what are the answers? Why? It's what you're trying to do. You're like, why? Why are things going well, or why are things going poorly? That's really like the kind of the job. It's a lot of the job, I'm trying to find out, get some insight on that, and just not afraid to ask those questions. And sometimes, now granted, on Twitter, some people will be like, well, Wes, complaining about the refs, Wes.
That was one of my favorite things. Wes did. He was not afraid to get after the officials, really, in any sport. I mean, I saw it certainly, like, Tennessee's run through Omaha, some of the umpiring going on, Wes was not a big fan of. Certainly, I think basketball probably the best example, because I do think like basketball officials are probably the easiest to get after.
Yes.
But Wes not afraid to go after the officials, which I always enjoyed, and which you and I shared some text messages about before. There were some hilarious examples of it that were, he was consistent in that. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I mean, especially if Pat Adams was working a game. And I mean, frankly, it's hard to argue with some of the criticisms on that front. Got a texter here, says, I'm not a Vols fan. I hadn't read any of his work before, but seeing the reaction from fans and reporters all across the league has been heartbreaking. The way everyone speaks about him says so much about the kind of person he was. It makes me wish I'd known his work sooner. My heart truly goes out to his family. Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's, the outpouring I think says a lot. And obviously it's shocking and it's just out of nowhere.
Yep.
But it's just like the next 20 years of Tennessee sports needed to be covered by Wes Rucker.
Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll continue to take your reaction to Wes Rucker passing away at the age of 43. We will get into a big Tennessee game coming up this weekend between Vanderbilt and Tennessee later in the show as well. Take your thoughts on all that. Again, Casey Alexander coming up at 7:30, Teron Davenport at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. The reaction continuing to pour in to the passing of Wes Rucker. Again, we'll take your thoughts on that throughout the show. Like Rob from Clarksville saying, Wes's tweets used to drive me nuts as a Florida fan. He could rile people up as he stood in the paint when they came back at him. I'm devastated as well. Anytime I see a young dad unexpectedly die, it hurts. Prayers for him and his family. A lot of sentiments like that. So we appreciate those. We'll continue to take your thoughts on that throughout the show today. Joe, transitioning. We were talking about this before the show. I don't know how you transition out of this. Like you just, I guess you just do it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's like, like what Wes is a guy who, man, talk about a guy who worked his ass off, and would, at some point you do, there's people out there who have tragedies. There's people who listen to us because they want to get away from things,
Sure.
because sports is an escape. And I think that we, need to do that for sure. But definitely keep the thoughts coming on Wes. Really appreciate it. And we didn't mention this, but just read Sparks' story. I wasn't sure if it, but of course Wes tweeted about it.
Yeah.
And actually, I need to read the tweet here before we get into the topic here, because it's tragic, and obviously, and Lauren is pregnant. Lauren is giving birth to a baby girl in May.
Yep.
I will read this tweet by Wes. He says, quote, Rucker baby number 2 is due in May. Hank is going to have a baby sister, and he insists her name will be Optimus Prime Night Ninja Rucker. He has insisted this for weeks, every day for weeks, end quote. So that tweet sums
that
up.
Name suggestion went over well.
Yeah. So, another one on the way, and it's tough, but keep the thoughts coming, and we'll get to as many as we can.
Yep, absolutely. Keep those coming throughout the show, and we'll certainly, visit your thoughts and get back into Wes Rucker and just the impact he's made on Tennessee sports as the show goes on today. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Joe, it is a big game coming up this weekend between Tennessee and Vanderbilt. We've been talking about it all week, and it was interesting. Tennessee, I saw some clips from yesterday in the aftermath of their win against Oklahoma, where Rick Barnes is in the locker room, and he's talking about how that was probably the best that they've played all year. And he talks about, how much better they're getting and kind of building, and the air is thinner at the top, baby. Only the strong survive, and all those things. And Vanderbilt just about came back and beat Missouri the other night on a crazy play from half court that we discussed yesterday. So you got a big time matchup between Vanderbilt and Tennessee coming up this weekend. Vanderbilt having a great year. Tennessee, like you've mentioned a few times, had you held on to a couple of double-digit leads at halftime against Kentucky, we'd be talking about them being as hot as anybody right now in the SEC. They didn't, so they blew both of those games, but still, on the whole, playing some pretty good basketball. Like the excitement level, I think, from both fan bases for this game is pretty high. And we had Joey Dwyer on earlier this week, talked about all the the stuff behind the scenes on the Vanderbilt front of it and what goes into that. But just purely on the court for the matchup this weekend, I am very excited for Vanderbilt and Tennessee coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, first of two. I think the second one is the finale. I mean, obviously, there's not going to be SEC championship stakes here. It really looks like it's just going to be, Florida probably running away with that, with Arkansas losing at Alabama, and then with Vanderbilt losing that game to Missouri.
Yep.
It's probably going to be Florida. And the regular season championships still absolutely matter as weird as everything is with these massive leagues. But it's one of the first things I think of is obviously like who's guarding Nate Ament for Vanderbilt, because he's just such a tough cover. It'll be interesting. I think they'll probably throw multiple people at him. And then on the other side, just really the point guard battle is a great one. Gillespie quietly, really one of the top scorers in the league. He had 8 steals the other night, so he's doing things defensively. I do, staying in front of Tyler Tanner that's a chore. So that's and then on the other side, Jacoby's a little more physical, and obviously Tennessee does a lot to get him shots. He's he's kind of a lead guard, a little more than like a traditional point guard. But then again, Tanner also is a guy who his shooting is so important to Vanderbilt, so that should be huge. The Duke Miles health question is big, and I don't know. I think there's gonna be an availability report that comes out today. So we'll see. I mean, maybe it'll be upgrade. He's been out obviously for a while. Maybe it'll be upgraded to like questionable. I don't know. Or maybe we'll find out he's playing for sure. The NCAA is they're doing the mock selections again, which is pretty awesome. I did one of those 11 years ago in Indy, but our CJ Moore and a bunch of people were there, and so this is the media. So it doesn't mean that the committee would come up with the same conclusions, but I mean, they dig in deep on everything. So they have both of them as 5 seeds now.
Okay.
Vanderbilt as a 5 seed in the West, Tennessee as a 5 seed in the South, paired up. Vanderbilt would be paired up with 4 seed Michigan State, Tennessee with 4 seed Virginia. So that's kind of the state of things. They've kind of evened up. Tennessee has brought it, because Vanderbilt was a 2 and Tennessee was more like maybe like 6, 7.
Yep.
Not long ago. And so they're both pushing to be top 4 seeds, which is what you want to be.
Well, 5 games left for both of them, right? So you got they play each other twice during that span. So obviously those games are huge. On the Tennessee front, they've also got Alabama in there at home coming up a week from tomorrow. And on the Vanderbilt front, you've got a trip to Kentucky coming up a week from tomorrow. So 5 games, including 2 of them against each other, where you've got pretty massive stakes involved there. Like you said, I mean, the SEC regular season part of this looks like it's going to go Florida's way. But like, if you're either one of these teams and you can win both of them, like, I think if I had to guess right now, Joe, the most likely outcome here would be that Tennessee and Vanderbilt probably split these 2 matchups. I mean, that would be what I would guess would happen. But if you're Tennessee and you can beat Vanderbilt twice, or if you're Vanderbilt and you could beat Tennessee twice, that would be 2 very impressive wins to add to your resume down the stretch here, where maybe some mobility to move up with those seedings.
Right. Yeah. Those would be 2. If you want to get into, the quads, which you need to look at the net for that. Obviously both. I mean, either winning it on the road is a huge win.
Yeah,
and that's a big deal. But yeah, I mean, it's a quad 1 win at home too. That's top 25 in the net. So you're talking about if one of these 2 teams can get 2 quad 1 wins at the expense of the other not getting one, then I don't think there's any question that team. First of all, I think would move into more in the 4 seed territory, maybe even pushing to be a 3. Tennessee also has at Missouri. I mean, that's a team right now that would be in the field, and they have Bama at home. They have owned Alabama in the Nate Oates era. But it doesn't mean Alabama can't come in at any point and hit 15 threes on you. And,
they could have another NBA player on their roster by then. You never know.
Well, that is true. There is that possibility. Vanderbilt looking at, along with this, Georgia, that's an NCAA team, and going to Kentucky. And Kentucky probably going to want a little retribution for the 25-point loss at Vanderbilt. But so it's a lot of opportunity for both to really strengthen the resume before they come to Nashville. And it's also it's not easy. I mean, but this one, should be really good. And obviously the Jalen Carey factor will be interesting to see. Like, how chippy is it going to be with Jalen Carey?
Oh yeah. That's going to be very interesting to say. I think Joey Dwyer said earlier this week it could be as loud as Memorial has ever been. So we'll see what happens on that front. Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Kenny, the mailman, to the program. Kenny, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
I'm calling today. I was listening. A lot of times we talk about sports scores and this and that, but really I'm calling today as a friend. That's how much y'all mean to me. Y'all are more than just a voice on the radio. And listening today, I can really tell what this gentleman has meant to y'all. And I'm so glad you did not hide the fact that you're vulnerable. And this is really, really bothering you, because you know what? That's what life is about. when you show how much someone cared to you like that, that meant his life meant something, and that he had impact on people. And we'll forget a lot of the scores and the numbers, but it is important to remember people's smiles, the things they've done for people, and the family that he has, and that he was going to have. That people will just come around, and be there for them. But I just want to, remind people all we have is this day. So be kind to people. A lot of times we just say stuff off the cuff. And I just wanted to let you know, people appreciate y'all for more than just being a voice on the radio. Y'all are good friends. So we're there for you today, good friends. Good night.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thanks so much.
Very
Kenny.
much appreciate that.
Very, very kind words.
Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the passing of Wes Rucker. Tennessee and Vanderbilt coming up this weekend in a big game. We'll have more of your thoughts on that as well. And again, just really appreciate all the kind words from Kenny and from everybody weighing in so far today. We'll have more coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Vanderbilt and Tennessee coming up in a big one tomorrow. Taking your thoughts on that. Now, Mark Byington and Vanderbilt did beat Tennessee once last year. They split last year, so I think it was 76-75. Yes, 76-75, the final last year for Vanderbilt at home against Tennessee in a big win. They played at Tennessee later in the year and lost 81-76. So a couple of really good games last year between Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Obviously, Vanderbilt has taken that next step so far this year. Tennessee is what they've been under Rick Barnes, which is very, very competitive, and we'll see what happens come tournament time. If Vanderbilt can get another win, if they can beat Tennessee again tomorrow, how big a deal is that for Mark Byington and this program as he's continuing to try to build this thing here in year number 2?
Yeah, it's definitely a big deal. It's a measuring stick. I mean, that's what it is. It always is the case to some extent in an in-state rivalry, but like we've talked about this week with comparing the two sides, the two schools with their basketball programs, which, by the way, real quick aside, that's a tough one last night for Kim Caldwell at home against Texas A&M, a 10-11 Texas A&M team.
Not trending well.
No, it's not trending well. But as you pointed out, this week, the standard bearer there is Tennessee men's basketball. So yeah, it's a huge deal. And even though Vanderbilt has been ranked higher most of the year and has had this big year, it's still, again, first of all, they're pretty much in the same spot now. Vanderbilt's come down a little bit. Tennessee has continued to get better and better. And so, I mean, if you looked at these two teams and you just graded the talent, I think Tennessee is a more talented team. I mean, Nate Amen is going to go. Now, Tanner, a lot of people think Tanner's a first-round pick too.
Yep.
But Nate Amen and some of those other guys, I'd say they're a little bit more talented team. But it's a big deal. It's a little different now than it used to be, where it's all about high school recruiting. So it's like a game like this, there's going to be some kids in the state or even regionally where they're both recruiting them, and you demonstrate that you can beat Tennessee. I mean, now it is different, obviously, right? Like a lot of roster building is veterans from other teams in the offseason, but there are still recruiting battles that are going to happen between Vanderbilt and Tennessee with in-state kids moving forward. So I think it's always important to be able to win this game.
Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Zach to the program. Zach, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. What's going on, man? I wanted to say, prayers out to Wes. Listen to that, man. That was awesome. But wanted to just chime in on Vandy, man. Big fan. Tell me if I'm wrong. At the beginning of the year, obviously everybody, the bench being pretty stretched out. You love seeing guys get in. The portal guys doing a lot. And then the three that stayed, obviously, they're still the key right now. But, I mean, I don't want to hop too bad on the Frankie Collins stuff, but it is frustrating, having Byington be really professional and just say, hey, we had an investment. We want to see the investment, paying out, and then him not show up to any more games. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. I'll be wrong, but I'll get off and I'll listen, but I just wanted to tell you guys thank y'all. Love the show, and love you, Robby. Love you, man. See you guys.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, the Frankie Collins thing is we talked about that earlier in the week. It's an interesting situation that they got going on there. We'll see what ends up happening on all the injury fronts for Vanderbilt. Like that's what I would love to see, Joe, is if they could somehow here get completely healthy. How dangerous could they be by the time, SEC tournament and certainly NCAA tournament comes around here? That's what I'm hoping to see down the stretch here.
Yeah, and it's going to happen. I mean, I think for sure it's trending to Duke Miles going to get a few games in before we get to the SEC tournament, and I think it should look pretty good. I mean, it's just with those two guards able to play off each other, it just makes a difference. He's a total pest. I think he's up there in the SEC in steals defensively too. He can get you a bucket. He can create for others, and you give Tyler Tanner a little bit of a break here and there, just to be able to play off each other like that. As far as Frankie Collins, one thing to remember, as Joey Dwyer pointed out in the context, at some point in this whole process, he came back and he practiced. And if it was just going to be one of those, I think I'm just going to shut it down, then why would you do that?
Right.
Apparently he had a setback. He also tweeted out some picture of something this week that suggested that there's some positive development with his knee. So, I'm keeping an open mind on that thing. Clearly, just like the way Byington answers about him as opposed to answering about Miles. I mean, it's different, So I think there's clearly some frustration on the side of Vanderbilt, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a done deal, forget about it, and that he just made this decision to do that. So maybe, they get him back and it's another bonus. If they get Duke Miles back and he's full Duke Miles of what he was earlier in the year, then they're okay. They're fine. Yes, you'd like to have a little more depth, but that's the big one.
So back to our phone line. Welcome in David in Portland to the program. David, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing good.
So first off, I'm going to say, thoughts and prayers to West Rutgers family, Lauren and Hank and their unborn child. And I hope that, Knoxville and Ball Twitter sets up a GoFundMe for the family. I know they will, the same way they did for Sakai, different situation. But anyways, regarding the game, I was at the game last year at Thompson Bowling Arena, and let me just say I'm glad that we are on this end of the Jalen Carey experience, because I watched him and Zakai Zeeler go at it, and I was like, man, I wish somebody like that was on, my team. So let's just say I'm glad that I'm on this side of the Jalen Carey experience this year.
Yeah, thanks for the call, David. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes tomorrow. Like, from his perspective, we talked about this earlier this week. I guess when there's going to be an intensity level that you're walking into that's that high, it could go one of two ways. I mean, either you thrive in an environment like that, or you allow it to become too much, and it basically just kind of stifles you out there. It's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that tomorrow.
Yeah, it will be. And, sometimes things like this, someone says something, fans are all over someone, but he's still friends with like his former teammates. Right. I don't know. I don't know how much animosity there is actually player to player. I know that, with Byington, and Joey Dwyer, who we had on the show, wrote a good piece at SI.com about, sort of the background, which is that Byington kind of went to see him when people weren't big on him as a prospect, kind of gave him the first opportunity. Then, obviously, James Madison comes here and he goes there, and he's, the quote last year was, "We don't like orange," and they beat him, and he has a really good game. And then this summer he says about Vanderbilt, quote, "That other school, I don't like that place. I love this place. Can't wait to do big things in the Big Orange." But it's like, well, you don't like that place. Well, so there's probably more to the story, or it was just someone just popping off.
How much that is playing to your new fan base or whatever.
Yeah, maybe right. Maybe it's as simple as that. So again, that'll be interesting. I mean, even if he has good relationships with these guys, it's going to be a competitive situation. I think to the other night when Auburn goes into Mississippi State, Keyshawn Murphy had been Mississippi State center, and Josh Hubbard goes absolutely nuts. 35 in the first half, and then he's screaming, "Don't leave Mississippi State," right, as he's standing right next to Keyshawn Murphy at the foul line. Yeah, holding the logo, like screaming basically in his ear. So that tells you right there. Because, we always think about schools and coaches and fans being upset when players leave. I mean, sometimes other players are like, "You screwed us over." I mean, like if we had you still, think of what our team could be. That's certainly the case with like Keyshawn Murphy at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not as much the case here with Jalen Carey, but he would have been a key player for Vanderbilt, just as he is for Tennessee.
615-737-1025, our phone number. A conversation that we brought up with Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports yesterday that we will get back into coming up next regarding NFL owners and the approach that's going on with what they're trying to get done overseas. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. Robby and Rexrode presented by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. We'll be joined by Belmont men's basketball coach Casey Alexander coming up later this hour at 7:30. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit. We will get into all things Tennessee Titans with him. Looking forward to that. We have the first edition of the season of Weekend Winners coming up later in the show as well, whereby I will try to become a champion again in Pigskin Pick'em and in Weekend Winners.
Did you win Weekend Winners last year too?
I think I might have.
Dang, man. Maybe you need to.
But honestly, I don't
take
remember.
it to Vegas. I don't remember either, but seems like there's a lot of free pizza that's been coming your way.
I guess we need to make that happen at some point.
We do.
I guess we do.
I mean, that's my favorite pizza in the city. So, not telling anybody where because we're not doing free ads.
No free ads.
It is. I think the best pizza in the city.
So,
and I've had a lot of them in a lot of places, so I know what I'm talking about.
A pizza expert.
Hot honey. Who knew?
Good. It's pretty good. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. So, Joe, we had a conversation with Charles Robinson yesterday about the international game coming up in Australia. And, you know, my biggest objection to that, beyond the fact that they're going to play a football game in Australia, which is, I believe, after looking at it, a 16-hour flight, and that's for teams on the West Coast to get all the way down there. So that's a long flight. But my biggest problem with this one specifically is it's the Rams and the 49ers. It's a divisional game, and we're basically taking a home game from the Rams in a divisional game between two teams that are pretty good. And like, yeah, you're going to play your home game in Australia, and then we're going to go later in the season, and San Francisco is going to have their home game at their home stadium. Have fun with that. Like, I really do not like that in the NFL, but I guess it is what it is at this point. But, you know, the question we got into with Charles is, like, where's this all going? Like, where is this all going on the international front? Is this going to be a thing where teams every year are going to play international games? Like, are they going to be rotating through like 15 international games a year at some point? And, you know, what he talked about was basically, Joe, that you look at the money the NFL makes in the continental United States and our country specifically. And, like, you have to wonder at some point, have you just basically tapped out on that, right? Like, have you exhausted all of your resources in the continental United States? And look, you know, it's a fair point that Charles brings up from the owner's perspective of, like, you look at the NBA, they've clearly tried to, you know, go global, and you can trace that all the way back to the Dream Team and like the impact that team specifically had on basketball globally and all those things. You know, clearly the NBA has made it an effort to go into China. I mean, look, the NHL, to a much smaller degree, they play these international games over in Sweden and Switzerland and all over the place. So, like, sports leagues are trying to do this, but it does sound like the money that they hope to tap into, like, it sounds basically like the NFL is trying to be the English Premier League. Like, they're trying to create these worldwide brands. And, Joe, one of the interesting things that you brought up before that I think is going to be fascinating to monitor here, like soccer, people play soccer all around the world, right?
Yep.
People do not necessarily play American football all around the world.
No.
Now, maybe at some point that changes. I have no idea. But the international part of this, it's not going anywhere. And if you read between the lines from some stuff that Robert Kraft has said, and we talked about with Charles yesterday too, it looks like this is going to become more of a thing overseas rather than less of a thing, which I know some fans around here would like to see it become less of.
Yeah. And so there's just the ridiculous greed aspect of this, which is always part of the story. Heads into you a little bit different, but like the Bears, you know, they're going to move to Indiana. I mean, it's just, you know, it's ridiculous. I mean,
the Gary Bears.
Yeah, exactly. The Hammond Bears, the Hammond gambling boat Bears, because that's the only thing I know that's in Hammond is they've got a casino boat there. But it's just, to me, it's just unfathomable that you would be this tone deaf and again, like, not, I'm sorry, but like I was just at at Soldier Field last year, and you can't really ask for a better place for it. It's the tradition. It is Bears football, whether you like or hate Bears football, and the idea that they're gonna have the Chicago Bears playing the Hammond Indians, like it's just take away the details. It's just ridiculous greed, and it's all over the league. And these owners need to be held accountable. And of course, they won't even let people do little report cards on them anymore.
That's true.
So that's part of this. Again, if you have a business that is printing money, it's not a crisis if you're not growing at the same rate. At some point, like, it's not going to continue to grow. But they're pushing this, like you said. They want to be. I mean, I think that's a great point that Charles. So they're obsessed with, like, why can't we be like them? But I think the biggest thing that they're just never going to overcome, maybe I could be wrong at some point, but American football, first of all, and I have a little bit of a unique perspective on this as last year I've been a football parent, but becoming a football and rugby parent.
Yep.
And rugby, by the way, is gaining some momentum in this country. But rugby, if you live in Europe, if you live in Australia, which is where they're going now, like when those people look at American football, like, well, we play a better version of that. It's called rugby, and it's tougher, and we don't wear helmets. And I think the biggest thing with American football, we are all conditioned. I mean, obviously, we love American football.
Sure.
We are conditioned to have this. I mean, it's basically simulated warfare. You have a play, and then you have a period of time. Everybody hulls up, gets ready for the next play. Like, for a lot of people around the world, it's like, why are we waiting on, like, these other sports? Hockey, it's constant action. Basketball, it's constant action. Yeah, there's whistles and stoppages, but rugby, constant action. Soccer, constant action. As we've talked about, in a football game, in 3 hours, there is 11 minutes of football being played. In 3 hours, there's 11 minutes of actual football being played. We're conditioned for that. So it's like, I have no problem with that. I love the whole pace and rhythm of it. But I think when you are, as a kid, that's just not what you grow up playing. It seems weird. Yeah. I've heard Europeans, talking about this. Like, it's just, I don't understand why people like this sport. Why do you like this sport?
Well, it's like Rory McIlroy, who obviously very accomplished golfer, was talking about this like 2 weeks ago. Somebody asked that, like, it was in the, like, right before the Super Bowl, or maybe right after the Super Bowl. And he was like, I've tried really hard to get into football, and I just can't do it. Like, that's basically what he said. And it's a lot of what you just talked about, of what they grew up watching. Like, it's very different. Whereas, like, here, like, I heard that and I was like, are you crazy?
Right.
It's football. Like, how could you not get into it?
Right. Yeah. No, right. Like, and it's just, for us, it's like, the traditional sports that we love, football, basketball, baseball, hockey. Soccer has gotten big here. I mean, I guess you could flip it around, and I used to feel the same way about soccer. Now, again, I think when you're of a certain age, like when I was a kid, we played Little League baseball, Rocket League football and basketball, and like no one played soccer. That, like, when I was a kid, that got so different. Now, in different parts of the country, that wasn't the case even back then, but it's gotten so different now. Like, all my kids, I was like, the first thing you do is soccer. So that's what it takes, right? But is that going to happen with American football? And especially with the safety stuff. I mean, the bottom line is, the thing about rugby is, and like I said, man, I had an eye-opening experience as watching my kid play rugby, watching these kids play rugby. But it is safer in some ways, so they just don't, the head's not involved. Now, it's super, super physical and violent still. Got a back surgery coming up, thanks to rugby, but sciatica.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if, like, because to me, the only way you really change those habits and get it to where people are passionate in other places about it, like there will be some, like you said, there's some Irish fans in different countries who get into the Titans of different teams, but like widespread, like they want it. It's got to be like, you play this as a little kid. We did that with soccer in this country, but it's easy too, right?
And T-ball.
T-ball.
Yeah. I played a lot t-ball and soccer. I think we're like,
but that's our sport.
True.
T-ball is baseball is our sport.
Yeah.
Like soccer is like in my lifetime, huge change in terms of just a normal thing kids do now versus before. Will that happen? Because the only way, if it doesn't happen, and of course I know they're trying to do this, they want to get young people into it. I just have my serious doubts. And again, in Australia, it's like, yeah, we play rugby and we're tougher than you. Watch us play and tell me that your sport's better than ours. I mean, football is obviously a derivative of rugby.
Sure.
So.
My response to them would be, I have watched it. It is better than yours, but that's okay.
Well, yeah,
but good luck convincing them of that. Right?
Yeah. And I would as much as I loved the rugby experience last year, I have not gone out and sought out like pro rugby leagues to watch. I mean, but I do have a ton of more respect for and understanding of it after that.
Well, some of this, I mean, just as you said, you're born into it, right? Like I've been watching football since I was old enough to watch television
and throwing the ball around.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you go outside, you play catch. So are you gonna get kids in these other places in the world to do that? Do they want to go out and play catch? We know kids around the world love going out and shooting hoops.
Sure.
And hey, I get that. That to me is my favorite thing in the world is playing basketball. So, but yeah, can you get it to the point where it's ingrained in them to play the sport of football?
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll take more of your thoughts on the NFL's pursuit of international football dominance. That's coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
I think they're starting to wonder, NFL owners are, how much more can we squeeze out of the U.S. domestic market? Like how much more money can we really get out of television contracts in the U.S. and, all these other, the ancillary gambling revenue streams and the merchandising and all this. Like, I think they feel like what happens if we get a little toppy and we start to see revenue production or increases in revenue year after year? What if that starts to slow down? Well, we have to go elsewhere to get that money.
You know what?
And that,
hold on. You know what they can do is not be greedy a-holes. Like this is one of the most destructive mindsets in human existence is that if it's not growing, then it's a problem. No, dude, you have more money than anyone. Shut up. Sorry, go ahead.
And I don't disagree with that, but you also have a commissioner who, how many years ago was it that he said we want to hit $25 billion in annual revenue? At the time, you're like, that is an insane number. Well, guess what? You're getting there now. And even though you dealt with, going through the economic drawback of COVID and the pandemic, they've still gotten back, they've clawed back to that number. That's just not the mindset. I hear what you're saying, and I understand that it frustrates players, it frustrates fans, but that's certainly not the mindset of these owners.
That's Charles Robinson from Yahoo Sports with us yesterday. Rexrode, very passionate about that issue.
Maybe I should calm down a little bit.
Taking your thoughts on the NFL and playing all these international games. One thing he also said in there was, you asked him at one point, is there going to be, are they going to have teams over there? Are you going to start, at some point I remember, I don't know, probably 10 years ago at this point, Joe, it was the thought was, well, Jacksonville one day is just going to be the London Jaguars.
Yep.
And obviously that has not happened, but is there coming a point at any time in the not so distant future where you've got a team in London that's a part of the actual schedule, or a team in Spain that's a part of the actual league? And I don't know. We'll see what happens on there. Charles's answer to that yesterday seemed more in line with, rather than, putting teams over there, you're just having all of these games. You're just a constant rotation of games that are coming over there. And I think the phrase he used was creating another team in the aggregate by doing that. So we'll see. I'll be frank with you. I'm not at all interested in adding actual teams over there. I hope that never happens.
What a logistical nightmare.
It's just a horrific idea.
Yeah. So again, it's just the bigger picture part of this is, these owners, this league is just so focused on what can we do more. Well, here's an idea. Maybe you should not want your product to be more and more only for people with a lot of money in a world where everything is expensive, it's out of hand. And maybe you should think about future generations having access to your product, and be happy being incredibly rich and having an incredibly successful product, and thinking of the long term of that here in this country, as opposed to worrying about chasing the EPL or whatever lofty, ridiculous goals you have financially. It's is anybody going to raise their hand and say, maybe we want to make it so, the reason we have these incredible fan bases is because of generational fandom, and it's because of grandparents bringing their little kids to games and things like that and having these experiences. And sure, everything's on TV now, so it's different, but should we think about the big picture that way and the long-term health of the product, or are we just going to just chase every dollar in every country all over the world? It's really bothersome to me.
Well, also, what about your teams? What about your have you seen San Francisco's travel schedule this year? And I wasn't even aware of this until yesterday. We've talked about the Australia game. They also play in Mexico next year. So this is what's going on with San Francisco next season in 2026. They are going to be estimated to travel more than 38,000 miles. It is going to be the most miles traveled by a team in NFL history. They're crossing more than 54 time zones combined when you combine it all, which was, I think the record was set last year by the Chargers, 42 time zones and 37,000 plus miles of travel. they're setting a new record this year. But you're going down to Melbourne, which is like almost 16,000 miles away. And then they're also playing in Mexico next year too. And it's like,
how do you do that?
How do you do that in the same year? Like, does your league not ever, like, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'm looking around like, what are you guys trying to do to us? Like, nobody's going to feel sorry for him. I get it. But my goodness, like, that's ridiculous. 38,250 miles is the estimated travel distance that San Francisco is about to embark on this year.
Man, has Kyle Shanahan complained about this?
Not that I've seen, but I bet he does.
I need the San Francisco Niners to be coached by Mick Cronin right now. Can you imagine some of the pressures he would have? That's ridiculous. How could you possibly make a team do both of those things? If you have a team playing Australia, there's no way that team plays in another international game.
If you're playing in Australia, you should be exempt from playing in an international game for like another 5 years. That's how far away that thing is.
Seriously.
Like Charles said it yesterday. I guess to some degree, I mean, though I don't like any of it, to some degree, I understand like going and playing in London, right? Or going and playing in Germany. Not that those areas are close, but Australia?
Yeah, 5-hour flight.
Yeah, it's a long way down there. Like, I just don't think that's going to work.
No. He says NFL started a European league. Well, they had NFL Europe, which was the idea was like, this is the minor leagues. But again, it didn't really move the needle over there, and that's a while ago. I mean, really, that came about in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Late 90s, I think, early 2000. They've tried these things, and again, it's just I just don't think without having this sport embedded in your culture with kids growing up, I think it's really hard to really move the needle. And maybe their data says that all these games are making a huge difference in that regard. People go to them. I'm sure, people seem to enjoy them. I mean, I think they've obviously increased interest. I mean, I think that's clear, but how much, and is it enough to really do some of these things? Someone also asking about a international Super Bowl. That's the thing. Like, I will say, and I don't want it to happen, and I don't think it will happen anytime soon, but like the idea of a Super Bowl somewhere else, like I guess I almost have less problem with that than in season having teams go, because it's like you have 2 weeks, and I mean, if people are, I mean, you're asking a ton of fans to travel wherever to go to the Super Bowl to follow their team, but we also know that like a huge percentage of Super Bowl seats are occupied by corporate sponsors and stuff too. So it's kind of an antiseptic sort of thing anyway.
I think I'd have less of a problem with the Super Bowl being over there by far than like, hey, especially because it's happened this way a couple times too, where teams are like, okay, they try to, as the NFL, give you a say in when your bye week is going to be if you're going over there. And some teams have tried it both ways, whether it's you have the bye week right after, or I think the Packers a few years ago went and played in Europe, and then they played back the next week in like Green Bay. And it's like, well, that's a great idea. Let's get over to Europe and then come back here and play in Green Bay the next week.
Yeah.
Like, it just creates a whole bunch of logistical problems. And again, I haven't looked at the schedule, or the schedule's not out yet. One of the things I'm going to be interested to see is like, who are the Rams playing in week 2, and who are the Niners playing in week 2? Because I might be putting all my chips on those teams.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No doubt.
Coming back from Australia.
Yeah. Robert Nashville says they're not building a young fan base in these other countries when they go there. Look, obviously they're doing things at clinics. Kids come out. Are we getting to the point? But again, if these kids aren't, and they go to school at recess playing catch with a football, or there aren't leagues for them, right?
Yep.
That are taking them out of soccer, which is absolutely in their blood, or rugby. And again, basketball. I mean, basketball did, like, I think some of the model is definitely the Dream Team, 92, going over there and look at European basketball and all that. But it's still different, and I think basketball is just a more accessible game in a lot of ways.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Casey Alexander will be with us coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. Belmont having a heck of a year so far. They got a big one tomorrow against Indiana State. It's homecoming. It's senior night. Game starts at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. And to help us talk more about that, we head to our phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com and welcome in Belmont men's basketball coach Casey Alexander to the program. Casey, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm great. Thanks for having me this morning.
Really appreciate you taking time to be with us. So, Casey, as I said, it's been a heck of a year for you guys so far. You guys are playing really well. You had a 63-point second half the other day, which is just absurd. So what do you make of the season you guys have put together to this point? Why have you guys been as consistent and successful as you have been in your mind?
Yeah, a lot of answers to that. We got a great group is the first and foremost answer. I mean, we just got some guys who play complementary basketball with each other, pretty good quality across the lineup and pretty good depth, and pretty good on both ends of the floor. Offensively, we've got significant punch, like you just mentioned in that Murray game, but we can also sustain ourselves on the defensive end when we're not playing on all cylinders offensively. So it's just been good. Guys like each other. They show up every day. Those are good formulas for winning.
Yeah. So in that game, Casey, Murray jumps to a big lead. The place is going nuts, and a lot of guys contributed, just complete domination in the second half. But Jack Smiley, the freshman point guard, I thought he was unbelievable, just in his awareness out there, but also obviously getting buckets, getting guys buckets, playing with fire. I mean, how much growth has he had just here in a few months for you, and what's the trajectory for him?
Yeah, incredible to think that a true freshman point guard is going to take over a game that has probably 4 or 5 all-conference players in it, but definitely you see him rise to the occasion. And he's had so many great moments for us second half of the season. We lost our starting point guard, Nick McLean, who was an all-conference player himself at Christmas break, basically. And so it took us a good while to adjust and try to figure out how to put some backup pieces together. And Jack Smiley and Isaiah West have kind of worn that crown. And Smiley, because of the increased minutes and the increased demand on his production, has really – man, he's just taken off. He's got a great – you asked about trajectory. It's really good. He's a really good player.
So, Casey, we were talking about this earlier this week. Home court in college basketball maybe matters more in this sport than any other sport out there. And yet you guys – what is it, 13 games you guys have won on the road? How have you guys been so good away from home to get those results on the road in a sport where it's really hard to do that?
Man, if we could bottle it up and really had the answer to that, we'd take it with us every season. It's pretty hard to explain, but we do have I think we have the most victories away from home of anybody in the country. And I think what comes with that is just the consistency of our team. I think, and kind of the commonality of our team. We haven't been rattled on the road. We've got good leadership. We've got good experience. Winning helps you. Winning begets winning, in my opinion. And so you find yourself in tough moments on the road, but you're used to winning and you kind of have that culture and belief. You can find a way to get it done. So it's definitely been very important to our overall success.
So among the great stories in your team, Casey, Tyler Lundblade, a guy who and actually I was just Kevin Sweeney had a really good story with some stuff on Tyler, and really he reached out to you. I mean, he is, for people who don't know, he is a huge critical piece of your team, the guy you want to get shots for, but he sort of reached out to you, right? And it was willing to walk on all that. Tell us real quick just the story of how Lundblade came to be at Belmont and how he has improved so much.
It is a great story, and I would encourage anybody to find that Kevin Sweeney, SI.com article that came out yesterday. And then there was also this Rexrode guy that wrote one in The Athletic. That piece was great as well. Yeah, so find that one.
He's mostly a 2-bit bracketologist, but sure, thanks.
Oh, man. But Tyler Lundblade, SMU and TCU as a walk-on. He earned scholarship at both places, but he never really gets the opportunity to play. He gets his legs cut out from under him. Kind of in the midnight hour at TCU, and he's in the summer of 25, looking for somewhere to go. And Tim Jankovic, his old coach at SMU, who I know personally, just felt like Belmont would be a great fit. He calls me and I say, well, Jank, we don't have any scholarships either, man. We don't need anybody on our roster. And he says, well, he can pay. And so what do you have to lose? And Tyler, he's a beautiful kid. He's a 4.0 student. I've never seen anybody more disciplined than he is. So he comes in and it takes a while. He's the new guy in town and he doesn't have any credentials coming with him. But he finds his way into our rotation. Then he finds his way into the starting lineup. And then he finishes off last season as the best 3-point shooter in the country. And this year, more of the same. Like his percentage isn't as good, but he is. I think his next make will be his 100th 3-point make of the season. He's our leading scorer. I'd say he's a player of the year candidate in our league, if not the front runner. So tremendous story. Really, really glad that it worked out for him and for us.
So Casey, you've talked with us about, the crazy world that is college athletics now so many times before, and just the turnover that happens on a year-to-year basis. And yet you find yourself seemingly every year, flirting with 25 wins, right? Like you're just right around there every time. You're 24-4 so far this year. How have you and your program been able to do this, to be able to just basically, no matter what's dealt your way from a roster standpoint year by year, to be as consistent as you have been over the long haul now?
Yeah, I give the staff a ton of credit just for sticking to our guns. We know the formula that makes Belmont successful. It's been in place for a long time. Circumstances around us continue to change and challenge that. But we've never really wavered from who we are, how we want to build a program, or how we want to play the game. And all of those things have kind of helped sustain us, in the midst of just a lot of turmoil. And then beyond that, I think you have to give Belmont, the university itself, a ton of credit because, they've given us a platform to attract the right kind of people and the right kind of players. And so even if we're dealing with somebody in the portal, they see the benefits of being at Belmont and being in our program. And so in the end, it has worked out. It's increasingly more difficult and it's honestly not a lot of fun some days, but it's a great reward when your times like now and your team is thriving and you got some real hopes for March.
So I knew you guys would be ready for the Missouri Valley, and you and Murray State are both right there among the best teams. But here you are, Casey, a share of the league title. You got a chance to get it outright if my math is correct here at this next game. So that obviously you guys are going to, I guess you don't want to count anything until it happens, but you're probably going to be the number one seed at Arch Madness, which is always an incredible one of the must-see tournaments every March. How do you feel about this team? I guess, have you guys through this process become, the hunted, and what about just that opportunity, but also the pressure that comes with it going into St. Louis with that opportunity with a team that I think can do damage in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, first of all, we're pleased with where we are, and we don't want to minimize, what it means to win a regular season championship. Yeah, if we win any of our last 3 games, we'll win the league outright. And I think back to the late '90s when we made a move from NAI to Division I, and it was difficult, and we didn't know when or if we'd ever win a championship, and now here we are 30 years later, and a lot of championships and conference changes and everything else. So it's really rewarding, gratifying, for us to be at the top of this league, which is clearly a step above anything that we've ever done before. I don't consider ourselves the hunted. I still think that we are, in a lot of ways, the underdog and trying to fight for some respect. And so we'll go into March Madness in St. Louis, just still feeling like we have a ton to prove, because we do.
So big picture here, Casey, Charlie Baker, the NCAA is very adamant about expanding the tournament. I think it's inevitable. It's going to happen here at some point soon. I have heard people say, well, this could help the mid-major. A couple, you think about like the St. Louis team a couple years ago, right? It should have been in, didn't get in. Obviously this year, like if Miami, Ohio loses a game, that'll be interesting. Do you think that if do you like the idea of expansion? Do you think that if it does happen, that even though we know there's going to be more like mediocre high majors that get in, that there still will be a positive effect for mid majors?
I don't see how it could be worse. If there's more spots available, conventional wisdom tells me that increases our chances of getting in and having multiple bid league. You look at all the prognostications this year, as we sit here today, and you got the Power Five, which includes the Big East, and beyond that, there's only like 2 other conferences right now with multiple bids. The Mountain West, with 2 or 3, and the West Coast, which is Gonzaga, with 2 or 3, and maybe not anybody else, which includes some unbelievable conferences, the Atlantic 10, the Missouri Valley, the American, and it's just crazy to think that that's the way of the land as we sit here today. So yeah, more spots seems to be a good option for people like us.
Well, Casey, you're always really kind with your time. Appreciate so much you taking time to be with us this morning. Good luck coming up tomorrow against Indiana State, and we will talk to you down the road.
Sounds great, guys. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Casey Alexander, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, Belmont men's basketball coach. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Joe, do you have pointy nipples that show through the polo?
Did you know you're my wonder wall? I'll say my name 1,000 times.
Think this is mating season.
The biggest ass in town.
How far up his ass are you, Paul?
The lower area is perfectly covered.
We ass, we in. We love, we ass.
It both entertains and disgusts me.
All right by one, connected. An all right by one. An all right. Uppercut by one. All right by one. All right by one. An uppercut. He's holding on. He's going great against us. Going to center right. Yeah, you better believe it, baby.
Joe is such a get off my grass old man.
You know who else doesn't know diddly? Me.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. Joseph, the floor is yours with that in the background.
Thank you. Very, very well done. We're gonna take it back to, so this was my idea. And going back to Wes Rucker, as we've talked a lot about on the show today, I had this idea, and I thought it was kind of a good idea, which was, you know what? I'm just gonna read some awesome Wes Rucker tweets because, like, I don't think there's a day, probably a day here or there, but very few days in the decade that I've been here have I not at least noticed a Wes tweet about something. But what I found here as I come up with this plan, my God, he tweeted a lot. Oh, Wes. What, Wes?
I have the exact number.
Yeah, what is the number?
He tweeted 247,300 some odd times. It just says 247 3K. So,
okay. So what do you have your number?
Yeah,
my
number.
I have no context on this. It sounds huge.
It's a large number. I mean, I have tweeted 94,000 times.
So he's at 247.
He's at 247.
How do you find this out? And I want to see what mine is.
Just get to your profile and then you scroll down a little bit and it'll show you at the top. You have tweeted 151,000 times.
That's a lot of tweets too, to be honest with you. So he has
247,000.
So he has 100,000 more tweets. When did he join Twitter?
Let's see here. Does it still tell us that? Let's see.
This is a great.
He joined in February of 2009.
Okay, so actually, a couple year head start on me, and still. February 2009 is like, that's
early.
Yeah, you're like
early
one of the
Twitter.
first 1,000 people on Twitter, but of course. So yes, my idea was to go through some Wes tweets because he has a lot of awesome tweets. But as I go through these, it's like, oh wow, there's a lot of play-by-play in there. There's a lot of play-by-play. There's a lot of press conference play-by-play. There's also a lot of opinion in there. He's a lot of going off about the the NCAA tournament expansion, which is something that Wes and I were were in lockstep on. So this was a bad plan because I'm looking through and it's like, yeah, it's a good tweet. That's fine. It's his presence was just always there. I mean, the tweet that gained a lot of interest from the entire, I think, Vols press corps is the post game tweet from Wes.
Yeah,
Wes would be. Look, I have been one of the last people a few times at Neyland Stadium writing a column and getting out of there super late. I have never left there when Wes wasn't there. It has been me and Wes as the last two, or there may have been one or two other stragglers, but it's pretty close. I'm pretty sure that Wes always was the last person out of the press box, and so he would always tweet basically General Neyland's big old house of
big old damn
signing off from General Neyland's big old house of football. So that's when you kind of knew that
everybody was
that the day could end. Yes, exactly. I mean, and again, it's just it's beyond the heartbreak personally. It's just purely on the Tennessee sports side of things, purely on the journalism side of things. It is a gigantic loss. I saw this from Austin Stanley. He tweeted this out. And this is Wes was actually speaking yesterday before the car accident that took his life and talking about journalism and about covering these people. And I just thought that this was really, really good. You know, some of the last words Wes Rucker said. So we wanted to play that right now.
There are times where above me I get in a little bit of trouble. Not here, and I'm hoping to move past those phases of my career when I would just be like, you know what, I don't care, the man, I'm coming after you. Now I just kind of say, oh, this is what I think, and if it bothers you, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to bother you, but you know, hey, we say what we think. You do not have to agree with me. I do not make that a requirement at all. But you will always know what I think. You will always know what I think because I am not smart enough to hide it. I'm not, and I don't care to. I think transparency is the only way for us. I think as close to full transparency as you can be. And I've said this many times, and I offer this as a PSA now and then. If we want the people that we cover to be open, accountable, honest, candid, why do we not expect the same of ourselves? That's even if people don't care, and a lot don't, and I don't blame them, don't care what about us or who we are or what we're doing. We're just kind of grist in the mill, and that's fine. That I don't take that personally. You know, if somebody else stepped in and did my job, you'd still follow that person because that's the team that they cover the teams that you want to see. It's not about us. I only do it, and I try to emphasize this. I only do it. I don't even care about myself. I don't really. Even I'm not sure anybody in my own house cares about me at times, if I'm being honest. But or what I think. They care about my existence, not what I think. But I'm just trying to be the example that you want to set in the world, right? Do not be a hypocrite. My parents did not raise hypocrites. They did not raise hypocrites, and we don't abide by that. We don't tolerate it.
That was Wes Rucker talking yesterday about covering Tennessee, and man, it's a lot of heavy stuff there. But just he did, and that's exactly it. I mean, I couldn't agree more with what he said, you know. And Wes, and you never ever wondered what Wes thought.
Nope.
And he came about his opinions, you know, honestly, by doing the work, asking the questions, showing up every day. And he was a credit to this profession beyond all the people who loved him personally.
Yep, no doubt about it. Wes Rucker passing away yesterday at the age of 43. Again, appreciate everybody's thoughts that they've shared with us so far throughout the show today. We'll continue to take those on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll have Teron Davenport with us coming up next. We will get into all things Titans with him, with his weekly visit. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
ESPN's Turon Davenport, Talking Titans, now on Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week here on Robby and Rexrode. We head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in our friend Turon Davenport to the program. Fueled by Parman Energy. Visit ParmanEnergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution. TD, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, fellas. How are you guys?
Doing awesome, man. Good. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. TD, Brian Dable, Gus Bradley addressing the media earlier this week. An impressive ability to recall everyone's name from Brian Dable there. I was very impressed by that. What stood out to you the most? Let's start on the Dable front when it comes to just what he had to say at the press conference earlier this week and maybe some of your takeaways from that.
Yeah, I think it was a really good presser. The biggest takeaway, well, there's two. For me, it's, man, did this dude sound like he was a head coach? You know what I mean? Talking about meeting with the GM, talking about hiring his staff. He definitely spoke like a general, and you got to respect that. I think the other thing that really stood out to me was just some of the things dealing with Cam Ward, right? One of the things that he said was he wanted to make sure that he saw the game through the eyes of the quarterback. He said that's what he pulled from the experience with Josh Allen, and that's what he wants to apply to this case. And then also, he said that he didn't say it directly, but he didn't seem to be bothered by the mechanics, right? And we know that that's something that, you know, the previous staff wanted to tweak. He seemed to be okay with it.
Yeah, that is interesting. And it's like, you know, the mechanics obviously are, I mean, it's everyone has their own specific stuff that works for them to be more accurate. But obviously, he needs to, you know, he needs to be more accurate, right? I guess. Do you take it as maybe even Dable's looking at it like maybe certain things that they do automatically, you know, improves that? I mean, I think everybody who watched Cam Ward would say there's some mechanical improvement that's needed, but almost like if you do things that are more comfortable for that player, that automatically is going to make things look better.
Yeah, I think that's really what the case is. And he kind of hinted at that when he says, like, everybody has different throwing motions or ways that they get in their drops. So to me, that's saying, like, hey, we're going to work with what you got going on. We'll tweak when necessary. But it seemed like, again, they were okay.
So, TD, I got to be honest with you. The more I watch David Bailey, the more I really want him to be a Tennessee Titan. That's just frankly the way. The guy, I love him. And I saw you breaking him down on Twitter earlier this week, or X or whatever it's called now. What stands out to you the most about David Bailey in terms of just the prospect that he is, and what sort of a weapon is he going to be in the NFL, in your opinion?
You know, Robby, what I really like is just he's got the full arsenal. Right. And you watched that Ohio State game, and he was going against a tackle that's going to be in the first round as well. So you look at this, right? And I mean, he showed you the bull rush. He showed you the outside speed. He showed you the counter move to the outside speed when he spun back inside. This dude is a complete package as far as the pass rushing situation is concerned. But it's just the area for improvement would be against the run, right? But I mean, look, you bring him in, he could be a situational guy. You know, you bring him in on third downs, you let him just go get the passer, go kill the quarterback, and I think you're going to have some good things happen.
So with that, yeah, obviously that's the knock is the, you know, the run stopping. Although apparently he got better last year, so there's at least a positive trend there. In your mind, then, when you compare him to a Ruben Bain, who obviously the arm length is a thing, and some people think he's going to have to maybe bulk up a little bit, be a 3 technique, whatever, but also a guy who wrecks games and seems that maybe it seems like people look at him like the motor is running a little bit more consistently than Bailey. Like, do you see a gap in your mind with Bailey than Bain and a gap between them?
No, I don't see a gap, honestly. It's like that old Outkast song, right? Do you want a Benz or a Beamer? And I think it's you get a certain set of things in Bailey, you get a certain set of things in Bain. Like, you know, you look at the way Gus Bradley described one of the DM positions, right? He talked about being, you know, on the outside, you know, on first and second down, and then able to bump inside if need be on third. that's Reuben Bain. You know what I mean? So you have different things. It just depends on what you want and what's available to you.
Well, TD, you know, we were talking about this yesterday. Like, when's the last time the Titans had an edge rusher that like legitimately terrified people, right? Like, it's been a while since they've had one. You know, Rakpo was really good, obviously. You know, depending on where they moved, Autry and Dupree and Landry, they had some good edge rushers, but like edge rushers that people were legitimately terrified of. Like, you start to think about if they can land one of those guys, regardless of who it is, not only what that does for that person individually, but I mean, think about the year Simmons just had. You know, like, what if there's an edge rushing threat to go with that on the outside? How big a deal could that be for Robert Saleh to land one of those guys?
No, that would be major. And you're right. I mean, they haven't had any of those DNs that, you know, Dennis Hopper would make that commercial about, right? I see bad things, man. Remember back in the day with Bruce Smith, you know, for the Nike sneakers?
Yeah.
You don't have one of those guys. But, I mean, to your point, Jeffrey Simmons had on the interior and at times, you know, coming off the edge, he had an outstanding year. So you pair that, and then you got Cedric Gray behind it, you know, making all the tackles. And then on top of that, you got Kevin Winston Jr., you know what I mean, the young stunner coming in and playing one of the safety positions. You could have the makings of a really good defense if they could get the right players. And they got to get that outside. You know, we talk about pass rush, but you got to address that cornerback position too.
What did you make of Gus Bradley's response when he was asked about Devondre Sweat?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very clear that there may be some I don't even know how to put it. It's very clear that you know, they want to give him a clean slate. I guess there's some lingering things that might be in the building. You know what I mean? And they want to give him a clean slate. I thought that maybe he could have, and again, this is nitpicking, white gloving it, but maybe he could have spoke more along the lines of how, as coaches, you got to find a way to make the system adapt to the talent that you have. You know, that's kind of the direction I would have went, but hey, he's up there speaking, I'm not, and I mean, he's a head coach, former head coach and defensive coordinator, so you got to go with what he said.
Well, I mean, do we think that, because I totally agree with that idea, but it just seems like Sweat, unless and maybe he will transform his body, but then maybe he doesn't fit as well in this defense. I mean, is that too simplistic?
I mean, he could maybe not fit as well in the defense from a pass rushing perspective, but you know, he's not an expensive contract. You got him there. Why not see if you could find something to work? I think he'll fit, you know, from a run stopping, you know what I mean? And be a guy right there in that 4-3 front, you know, when they're going against the run, first, second down, et cetera.
So TD, you know, free agency is around the corner, and, you know, running back is going to be interesting to see what happens here. We were talking with Charles Robinson yesterday and the Kenneth Walker thing, and you know, it's hard to imagine Seattle letting Kenneth Walker go, but you know, one of the benefits, if you're the Titans, of having the amount of money that you've got is you can certainly outbid some of these teams if you want to. So how do you view running back in terms of what could be some pretty good options that are available to them if the Titans decide to go that route in free agency?
Yeah, I mean, you can outbid for some of these guys, but I think, you know, the transitional tag is something that the Seattle Seahawks will use on Kenneth Walker. Remember, Zach Charbonnet is coming off a late injury at that, you know what I mean? So, yeah, there's value. So I would imagine they keep him, and then you look at like a Breece Hall, who I thought, you know, would be a solid pickup, and I don't know what's going to happen with him. He may get tagged as well or brought back, but to me, all of that, it brings me to Brian Robinson. And in my opinion, if you want to bring a guy in that fits the what you know Dable wants to do, and you want to bring a guy in that's cheaper than Tony Pollard, yeah, Brian Robinson to me should be the guy.
That is intriguing. I was going to ask you, who do you think is more likely to be on this team next year, Tony Pollard or Tyjae Spears?
Oh yeah, Tyjae Spears is on the roster.
He'll be. You think he'll be the third down back, and then maybe they change up at Pollard, maybe not.
It's possible that Pollard could be gone, but I mean, you know, I think it's what $7 million you save or something like that.
Yep.
So it all depends on like what they do free. Like if they go out and they sign an Alec Pierce or somebody, a big high end free agent, then you could probably see Pollard being gone, and then a lot of that's going to depend on Ridley too, who I personally think they need to keep around at least one more year.
Yeah, the Ridley part of this is going to be interesting. I mean, Dave made sure to point out he's not making personnel decisions, but I mean, there is a history there. But TD, when you start evaluating these options, like I think a lot of Titans fans just assume that he's gone, but then you look at like who's actually going to make it in free agency in the NFL, and it could make a whole lot of sense just to keep him around and hope that he can stay healthy next year.
Yeah, no, facts. And even if they sign like a Wan'Dale Robinson, I would still keep Ridley. And the thing is, right, you got the cap going up, you got $100+ million, you got not an abundance of people to sign as far as like options, high-end free agents. So why not have that much money invested in the receiver position this year with Ridley and further helping towards development? And then, I mean, if you got to let him go, you let him go next year. Once you have another rookie receiver, in the building and everything else, having a year under his belt.
TD, what do you think about Romeo Doubs? Because I think he's going to make it to free agency. Just the wide receiver situation in Green Bay. I just, from their standpoint, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to pay him. He's been really good in the red zone in his career. I mean, he's not necessarily a blazer out there or anything, but what do you make of the idea of Romeo Doubs?
Romeo Doubs is a consistent player, and he's someone I really liked him at Nevada. Him with Cole Turner and Carson Strong. I remember watching them and really enjoyed that. But I mean, look, he's a consistent player. He's not a high end receiver, but he's one of those guys that you could 10 to 15 million a year is probably where you could put him in at. And I would say 50 to 60 catches, 70 to 1,000 yards. I mean, that's not anything to scoff at,
Well, I got to throw the Tua scenario at you because I can tell by your reaction already. I got to say, when I first heard, like, what? And then I was like, well, okay. I mean, if you get a really good pick and your cap space can handle it, and now you have a better backup, is there anything about this that appeals to you?
If they get a first round pick, I would consider it. But I mean, you got to think about that, right? It's going to take up almost a third of their available money to spend.
Yep. No, for sure. I want no part of it. Let the record show.
Yeah, that probably cost you Pollard. It probably cost you Ridley. It probably cost you, it may even cost you Cushenberry. It probably cost you Xavier Woods. Like you're trimming a lot of players for that first round pick. Now, hey, if that first round pick could be Mekhi Lemon, or if they could even get that, because we know that probably won't happen. But that pick number 11, you turn that into Mekhi Lemon. Now you're cooking a little bit.
TD,
man.
I saw there's all these freaking mock drafts now, and I saw the Athletic one had Mekhi Lemon going to the Rams, and I'm just thinking about like Adams, Puka Nacua, and Mekhi Lemon all out there together at the same time. It's kind of terrifying.
17.
Yeah, it's just disgusting.
It would be, man.
Just awful. TD, great stuff, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us today. We will talk to you next week, my friend.
All right, appreciate you. And if I could shout out Elite 3 7-on-17, man. I got to go out and talk to them last night. It was a great experience. Quentin Patton, former 49ers receiver. He's from right here, Laverne. I got to talk to him. I talked to them about discipline. And here's the thing. My guy, Ian, has me this morning just anti-discipline, man. I got a half tray full of Girl Scout cookies and a cup of coffee right here. And the discipline is gone, man.
Dude, I bought a couple of those things from Ian, and I regret to tell you that both boxes are gone. It lasted about 3 days, man.
What kind, TD?
Oh man, look, I got a mix. I got the tag-alongs. I got the coconut ones. I don't know if it's proper to call them what it says on the box. I got the some that are inspired by Rocky Road, and then I got some type of caramel and chocolate. Man, it's woo.
I absolutely destroyed the Thin Mints. I'm not proud of it, but I kind of am.
Listen, the inner O lineman in me, I take the Thin Mints and I crush them. And I sprinkle it over vanilla ice cream, man. Thank me later.
Yeah,
that's elite.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, TD, pace yourself this weekend. We'll see how it goes.
All right, fellas. Take care.
Teron Davenport joins us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. Fueled by Parman Energy. Visit parmanenergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution. We'll react to what TD had to say. We got weekend winners coming up at 8:30. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby and Rexrode brought to you by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Appreciate TD for being with us. In the last segment, we will have our first edition of the season of Weekend Winners coming up here in about 10 minutes, so looking forward to that. Some news on the Olympic hockey front. No Sidney Crosby today for Team Canada in the semifinals. So you have to have a captain in the tournament. So Crosby obviously was the captain for Canada. Now McDavid will be wearing the C. So plenty of options there. But no Crosby for Team Canada today as they take on Finland if they win that game, hopefully it will be the United States and Canada coming up on Sunday. And we'll see if Sid plays in that one.
What was their three they had out there? They had McKinnon, McDavid when they were doing 3-on-3. It was like McKinnon, McDavid, and
was it Celebrini with him?
Or McCarr?
Oh, McCarr. That's what
yeah,
it was.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, McKinnon, McDavid,
It's a little
and Cale
ridiculous.
McCarr.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, all right, guys. Mitch, see what you can do out there.
Yeah.
I might be 3 fastest players in the league.
Yeah, it might be. Certainly the 3. I think it is the 3 best skaters in the league. Like, just
That's a pretty good. Yeah, that's a pretty good trio.
I mean,
throw out
Quinn
there, a little
Hughes is
3-on-3.
really good, like in terms of the edge work out there. But yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. So
I guess Larkin has won the speed contest
yeah,
before.
Larkin's fast.
Put a little respect on the Red Wings.
America!
Name there, buddy.
Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely. So I believe they're playing at 9:40 this
Correct.
morning, and then USA and Slovakia at 2:10 coming up this afternoon. So
not Finland. I mean,
it's going to be interesting.
It's
going to require a big game from UC Saros.
Can he steal one and become the hero of the country of Finland?
He's bounced back better than I kind of thought.
Yes,
Saros has looked.
He's done well.
He's looked good.
He's done well. Now, I would say that what he's getting ready to be looking at today is very different than what he's looked at so far this tournament. So we'll see how that goes. So, but he's played well. So good for him. We'll see if that can continue today. What did you make of what TD had to say on the David Bailey front? I'm really interested here as people start diving through this. Like by the time draft time comes around and you've gotten through the measurables at the combine and we have the inevitable Ruben Bain arms discussion next week that's going to dominate the NFL when the combine comes around. Is there a gap between those two? Like Reese seems to be, everybody's talking about the Micah Parsons comparison to him, and we'll see what happens. Like Bailey and Bain, does there end up being a gap between those two? Or is it going to be like basically as TD just threw out there, like which style do you prefer? And there's not much of a gap in terms of the evaluation from the NFL teams.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. I do think that there's a gap in terms of I think some teams, because some teams just have hard and fast rules and some don't as much. But I think some teams will just have him down the board because he doesn't physically profile at the position where he dominated in college. So I think there will be a little bit of a gap. I'm looking again at Brugler's, top 100. In his top 100, he has Bailey 6, and he has Bain 9. So I mean, not too much of a difference there. But look, it's certainly possible that there's also the other side of that, which is some teams just like, no, Ruben Bain is a great football player. Look at the film. And again, all this stuff that's coming in the next few days is going to matter in that. It's like, no, he's just a better player. We're going to take him. I personally prefer Bailey.
Same.
He is a long striding, explosive speed rusher who I think could be a double-digit sack guy for years.
I can't wait to play one of your favorite games next week, and that is like how many people decide to run and or not run at the NFL Combine. It's become a thing over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I'm not going to participate. We'll see you.
Yeah, and there's too much. And some of them totally get like if you're already going high and all you can do is hurt yourself, that totally makes sense. Too many people who need to run who are getting bad advice from their agents. To me,
agree.
But maybe there's more common sense this year.
Maybe so. Let's head back to the phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Adam in Portland to the program. Adam, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Number one, dude, I could totally see Saros winning that game. But I don't think the national people are acting like he's a household name now. I don't know that he is because they said his name was like you say or something. Like they messed his name up when they were saying it, but they were like, yeah, he's a household name, so he could absolutely still win. Here's the problem I have with Saros, dude. He can make it to the gold medal match and then come home and lose to the Sharks. Like he's the most inconsistent guy, and I don't know what it is about him, but I'm pulling for. I don't want Canada, man. I want Canada to get upset. So for you to say I want the U.S. and Canada, no, I would love to see us against Saros in the end. I think it'd be cool.
Thank you for the call, Adam. I mean, look, again,
the Saros factor is interesting, I guess.
Saros factor is interesting. I will take gold for USA no matter how they get it. That is kind of my approach. But really deep down, I want USA and Canada. I think it would just be awesome.
Yeah, it's just,
and it may not end well for the USA if it goes that way. But I
may
want it.
not. But if you win that game, yeah, gold medal's a gold medal. But if you get it by beating that collection of talent, I just, that to me is,
it's a big moment.
It's just bigger.
Yeah,
it's like you just don't have too many opportunities to watch games because all-star games are all bunk,
Yeah,
and that's why this stuff is so cool because these are all-star games with gigantic stakes. Everybody playing for their country. And I'm sorry, but I'm rooting for Canada and the United States.
Well, it's not the same comparison because I still think from an overall talent standpoint, like go back, you remember the USA France final in the gold medal game a couple years ago. It's awesome, right? Like just watching those guys who, it wasn't like an NBA All-Star game because they cared. Like they cared to be out there. They were actually spilling their guts playing. Like Steph Curry with some huge shots down the stretch. That's what it is. Like it's Connor McDavid playing at his absolute max capacity.
Right.
It's Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk just steamrolling people out there. It's awesome. Like that's what I want on Sunday.
Yeah. 7 a.m.
I'll wake up.
Let's go.
Yep.
That's sleeping.
I'm about to say,
sleeping in for
doing
us.
great.
We're good.
Yeah.
7 a.m. ain't nothing. Yeah.
You
I've
late
seen
sleepers out there,
I've seen some people on the East Coast complaining about it. They're like, I can't believe the game's going to be at 8 on Sunday morning. It's like, can you not wake up by 8 o'clock? You can't do that?
Seriously. What about like hockey fans in California and their 5 a.m. wake up call?
That's who I have more sympathy for.
Exactly.
And you are talking to the same person that woke up one time to watch a Federer versus Nadal Australian Open final at like 3 a.m. So I'm kind of a lunatic.
That's pretty good.
It's tennis that I woke up for.
That's
tennis.
That's impressive. That's impressive. I mean, as I've said many times, when I lived in Saudi Arabia, I had to do a whole bunch of 2 a.m., 3 a.m. waking up to watch, my Tigers in the World Series, the Super Bowl, etc. But you doing that for tennis that's strong.
Well, what'd you make of the Tigers alternate jerseys, by the way? I didn't get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thanks for tweeting that. I will say, I mean, it's all stupid. I will say that if they're going to have that, I kind of don't hate the orange one.
Yeah, I kind of like
I didn't hate the orange one.
Yeah.
And you involve the Old English D, that's fine. So I don't hate that. But yeah, overall, it's like they're playing a game at home and they're not wearing some of the greatest uniforms ever. It's just embarrassing.
Rexrode slowly opening his heart to alternate jerseys all throughout sports. Before you know it, he'll be wearing like a dark mode Tennessee football jersey in studio.
There you go. Or the smoky grays. Yeah. At some point, you just have to throw up your hands.
We'll have weekend winners coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. It is time for the first edition of the season of Weekend Winners. One last victory lap for me as Pigskin Pick'em champion. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well done. Well done. You crushed us.
Weekend Winners. Obviously no football going on, so everything else is on the table. So, Joe, let's begin with a big one coming up this weekend. Tennessee taking on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is a 3.5-point favorite at home in this matchup. I am up first in this one. You'll be stunned to know I'm going with Tennessee. Tennessee, I think playing better right now. I'll go Tennessee. I think Ahmed's playing well. I'll go Tennessee to cover and to win. I think they get the win on the road this weekend at Memorial. Joe Rexrode, who we got?
Yeah, I'll go Vanderbilt. I don't love 3.5 because I could see this being like a 79-77 kind of game. But yeah, I think free throws down the stretch, and Vanderbilt will win by about 6. And yeah, this is not knowing the situation with Duke Miles.
Yep.
They're just such a different team at home. I think the intensity is going to be there. And I think they do have bodies to throw at Ament. Tennessee, Estrella's a little bit banged up again. That foot is hurting him. So I think teams with a lot of bigs can be problematic for Vandy. I think this matchup is fine, and I think these teams are probably going to split this year.
Ian, who we got? Vanderbilt, a 3.5-point favorite tomorrow against Tennessee.
Yeah, it should be a fun environment, huh? It's always fun in there.
Yes.
With all the Tennessee fans, and
yep,
Vandy fans will be there too, so it will be fun. So I am, the home court advantage may be diminished a little bit in this, considering most college basketball, if it was just compared to a normal game. So I'm going to take the Vols to cover.
Going with Tennessee plus the 3.5.
That is an interesting point. I'm interested to see, because I've definitely seen it in there when it's been like I remember the Grant Williams game in 19. It was like 50-50.
Yep.
Recent years, it's been a home court advantage. Are Vols fans a little bit out and not as many in there tomorrow? I don't know.
Probably.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
It will be very interesting to see what that looks like. But I imagine the Vanderbilt contingent, whether it's 80%, 75%, whatever that total ends up looking like, pretty boisterous in there tomorrow.
You would think, yes.
You would think so. Another big college basketball matchup this weekend, Michigan and Duke, a non-conference game in late February.
In D.C., Washington, D.C.
Yeah, neutral site. Michigan, a 2.5-point favorite in this one. Joe Rexrode, you were up first. Who we got?
Yeah, Michigan all the way. It's almost my lock. Duke's really good, and Duke's a contender. But anybody who watched Michigan at Purdue the other night, and they hit 13 threes. They're not going to do that every game. When they do that, they are absolutely unbeatable. But overall, man, they're the best team, and they are, to me, the favorite to win it all. And I think they're going to beat Duke by about 8 to 10 points.
Ian Safar, who we got? Michigan, a 2.5-point favorite in this matchup.
Full disclosure, I haven't watched either of these teams yet. Every time I look at Michigan's scores, very impressive.
They're killing people
on the road, handling good teams. I'm surprised it's only 2.5, considering it's a neutral site. If it was at Duke, I think I would maybe understand the 2.5. But being a neutral site in 2.5, I'm going to lean Duke plus the 2.5. You get the extra 0.5 point there. Maybe it's a 2-point bucket.
Give me Duke to cover and win outright.
Ooh, okay.
Cameron Boozer, 29 points tomorrow night. 29 for Cameron Boozer. You heard it here first.
That is
29 and 10.
If he does that against Yaxel Lindeborg, that's a great matchup, man. Those guys are both going the first round. Yaxel Lindeborg and Cameron Boozer is an elite matchup. If he does that, and people need to start talking about him as the number 1 pick a little bit more.
He will rise to the occasion. Give me Duke plus the 2.5 against Michigan. We're going to take a leap here, okay? And we will pivot on this if we need to.
Yep.
But we're going to make an assumption that it's the USA and Canada coming up to the gold medal game. And really, that's frankly because I want it to be so badly, and we're going to make that assumption. If it changes, we'll update the listeners on Monday as to what we did. USA, Canada, straight up. Ian Safar, who we got?
Unfortunately, I'm going Canada.
Jeez.
Traitorous. Treasonous.
Hey, at least I didn't make it my lock.
USA lock.
Oh, there we go.
I don't know how much I believe it. but I'm going to believe it with all my heart come Sunday morning at 7 a.m. USA lock. They will stifle Team Canada in the gold medal game. Don't let it get to 3-on-3 overtime because I don't like the McDavid-McCarr-McKinnon matchup against anybody. Do it in regulation. USA locking down in the gold medal game. Rexrode, who we got?
So, by the way, real quick, so in the gold medal game, will they go to shootout, or they're just doing 3-on-3 forever?
3-on-3,
but no shootout.
No shootout.
20 minutes, 3-on-3.
Imagine 20 minutes of 3-on-3,
and we'll extend another period.
Imagine a double
no
overtime of 3-on-3.
It will say 3-on-3,
Is
but
it
no shootout.
possible to get to the end of a 20-minute period of 3-on-3 overtime
with those teams?
Yeah,
nobody's going to score.
It's hard to imagine. Yeah. Well, listen. Sometimes I like to go against my heart in this stuff, and here I am. And I frankly, I can't lose to Robby this year in this episode. So give me Canada. I'll take Canada. And if the USA wins, I'll happily lose. If not, the consolation will be, hey, got a leg up on Robby.
I don't think the two of you are going to be allowed to celebrate. You know what? I don't think the two of you should be allowed to enjoy this on Sunday.
Hey, I mean,
good grief.
Fans sometimes bet against their teams, man.
Some people use that as a strategy.
It's a hedge. Yeah.
I do think I picked in Pigskin Pick'em heavily with Alabama this year. I was like, yeah, Alabama's going to smoke Tennessee. So
that's true. There you go.
You did do that, yeah.
The individual portion of the program, I'll go first. Give me Indiana plus 10.5 coming up against Purdue. I don't think they're going to win, but I do think they'll cover the 10.5 point spread. So I'll go Indiana plus 10.5. Rexrode, your first individual selection.
Yeah, I like that one. Almost did that one too. VCU at St. Louis. St. Louis, stunning loss this week, Rhode Island. Coming home against VCU, minus 7.5. I just think the Billikens are going to be upset, looking to make a little statement. Give me St. Louis minus 7.5.
St. Louis minus the 7.5. Ian Safar, your first individual selection.
Okay, I'm going opposite of you, Robby. I'm taking Purdue.
Okay.
To cover the 10.5. Coming off the loss versus Michigan, they're at home. I think the 10.5 seems like a pretty high number to me against a decent team. So I think they'll cover.
Going with Purdue.
Those numbers, I'll try to go opposite. When I'm like, hey, that number seems high, I go them to cover.
Why is it high?
Yeah.
Right.
There we go. I like that. Ian Safar, your second individual selection.
Okay. We're back, baby. Nashville SC.
We're back.
Guaranteed.
Give us a season opening MLS win against New England this weekend at home.
There we go.
I was terrible with my locks and terrible with Nashville SC last year. We're getting off the schneid early.
Yeah, Ian feels like he's due. It did not go well for him on the Nashville SC front last year. When he picked them to draw, they would win. When he picked them to win, they would draw. It was kind of funny.
We'll see how that goes. We'll see how that goes. We're just going to get kicked off. Forget wasting any time. First game. Bring it on.
Rexrode, your second individual selection.
All right, Big 12, Arizona at Houston. It's an amazing two game. Duke, Michigan, and then Arizona, Houston tomorrow. I mean, it really is that's Final Four quality. Houston minus 5.5, and Arizona does not have Koa Pete. Give me Houston to make that my lock.
Guaranteed.
One Houston minus 5.5, locking down against Arizona, and a big one coming up tomorrow on the college basketball front. Give me my beloved Miami Heat minus 3.5 against the Atlanta Hawks tonight. Spo's going to have them coached up and ready to go. I'll go Heat minus 3.5 against the Hawks. I figured somebody should take at least one NBA game.
There you
go. I volunteered to do it.
Good job.
My final individual selection. USA and Slovakia coming up today in the semifinal matchup. The over-under goal total is 5.5. Give me over. And I think it's on the USA front. I think USA wins 5-1 today. So I'll go over right at 6. Cha-ching. Take me the over 5.5 for USA and Slovakia today. Rexrode, your final individual selection.
Mute. Let's stay in the Big 12. And Iowa State at BYU. It's been some terrible injury news in the Big 12. Richie Saunders at BYU. Now JT Toppin at Texas Tech. Brutal. BYU at home, tough place to play. Iowa State, totally different team, home and road. But I just BYU getting 3.5. I'm going to take the Cyclones and give those points. I think they're going to get it done on the road.
Going with Iowa State against BYU. Ian, your final individual selection.
Okay, I'm trying to go NBA here. It's Saturday night. Rockets, Knicks. Knicks coming off the loss to your Pistons last night.
Got their ass beat again.
I don't
talked a lot of trash. Got their ass
I don't
beat.
see a line yet. So I'm going to take the Rockets. To pick against the Knicks, regardless of the line. So whenever that comes out, give me the Rockets to cover whatever it is against the Knicks Saturday night.
Okay, I like that. Do we think Joe is completely switched back to the Pistons now, or is he like half in on the Pistons, half in on the Warriors?
I mean, basically, like if the Warriors were good and they played in the finals, I would root for the Warriors.
Okay.
I mean, the Pistons, my bad boys Pistons will never. I mean, they're above anybody. But I'm finding myself watching the Pistons a lot. I mean, they are.
Did you enjoy
they're a wagon?
Did you enjoy and root for the Chauncey Billups?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Rasheed Wallace.
Okay. Oh, absolutely. Loved them. Yeah. Yeah, it was all the stuff with the Warriors happened after that. And again, it's kind of like kid driven, but no, I love those teams. Ben Wallace and Rip Hamilton, all yeah. I mean, they're not my bad boys, but we were yes. It was a magical time. It's been a long time.
It has been. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Final segment of the day coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. I got some tickets to give away to see Sal Vulcano at the Ryman Auditorium coming up on Sunday, April the 12th. To caller number 2, 615-737-1025. Caller 2 will win a pair of tickets to see Sal Vulcano at the Ryman Auditorium on Sunday, April the 12th. Joe, one thing we brought up briefly earlier, Kim Caldwell and the Lady Vols lost 82-74 last night. That is now 3 losses in a row for them. They've lost 6 out of their last 8. And by the way, to close out the season, they've got number 11 Oklahoma, number 7 LSU, and Vanderbilt to close things out. So they may not win any of those games, which means they would head into the postseason with the 6 consecutive losses, and at that point they would have lost 9 of 11. Now, maybe they do win 1 or 2 of those games. We'll see what happens, but it is not trending very positively for Kim Caldwell and Tennessee on the Lady Vols front in year number 2 right now.
No. Now I've seen some Tennessee fans speculating like missing the tournament. I mean, it's not going to happen. Like even as of today, friend of the show, just because we like to mention him, Charlie Cream, has Tennessee as a 6th seed. And this is today. This is after the I mean, it wasn't long ago. They were right there for hosting. They're not going to host now.
No.
So, which is a disappointment all on its own for Tennessee. But they're going to be, they could lose the first game of the SEC tournament, and they're probably, maybe they're at 8-9 type thing. They're going to be in the tournament. Tell you what, at the end of the year, the one time they play Vanderbilt this year, like if Vanderbilt comes into that place and kicks Tennessee's butt, I think it's already getting uncomfortable. And again, it's only year 2, but it's just alarming some of the things. There's clearly a disconnect between her and some of her players, and they're not responding. You can't lose to a 10-11 Texas A&M team at home. So, some people are taking it to like whatever, not make the tournament, get fired, all that stuff. None of those things aren't happening, but it makes for a gigantic off season for her.
Yep.
And that's the thing about college sports now is, I mean, the one thing that's good when you're a coach of this situation is, again, in the old days, it's like, sure hope some of those, recruits are good and some of these players get a lot better. You can go out now and you can change your team dramatically, and it's going to be critical for her to figure some things out. I think the style that she plays, I think she's figuring out that you get to a certain level. That's why, like, you never see it like in the NBA, right? You get to a certain level and more teams can carve that up.
Yep. And that may require some adjusting on her part moving forward here. So we'll see what happens on that front. Joe, it's been a difficult show today. Obviously, we opened up basically the first hour talking about the passing of Wes Rucker yesterday, passing away at the age of 43 in a car accident yesterday. And every time I log on to the text line, log on to social media, there's just more tributes from Wes Rucker rolling in. Just a tough day. It was, we didn't know exactly how this was going to go this morning and whether or not the actual reporting of it would be out there by the time we got on the air. It was. So we addressed it all throughout the first hour. And again, thank you to everybody that's reached out to us today. We appreciate it. And, one of the things I said earlier, Joe, was like, I did not know Wes personally as you did. We did have him on our show several times. But if you're somebody like me who has followed Tennessee athletics my entire life, he's been around for almost all of it, right? Like he's been covering Tennessee for almost all of it. So, in some ways, even though I didn't know him, it kind of felt like I did because I read him all the time, followed along with him on social media, interacted with him on social media, and then obviously eventually had him on our radio show. So it was just a really, really tough day for Tennessee athletics, Tennessee fans, and obviously, most importantly, Wes Rucker's family. Just really thinking about them this morning.
Yeah, it's gutting. And you start with his family. I mean, his wife Lauren is an amazing person, and like they are truly one of the best couples I've ever been around. And so little Hank and he's been through so much, and Wes has shared that with people. And she has a daughter on the way in May. It's utterly unthinkable and gutting and heartbreaking. And you think of them first. And I appreciate all of you who have reached out asking about a GoFundMe. I'm sure, something like that will happen. We will share all that information. And then you take it to, the sports conversation. There's just a huge hole. following Tennessee sports is going to be worse moving forward. There's just a huge hole. And to me, if you're a Tennessee fan who didn't seek out what his take was on anything in the last 2 decades, and I don't know what you were doing following the Vols. I mean, it was appointment reading. And so just on a variety of fronts, he's just going to be missed terribly.
Yep. And again, just an awful situation. When the, Vol Twitter, it's a very massive fan base. They do a good job of taking care of people and stuff like this. And like you said, I'm sure that there's
no doubt.
I'm sure there's something that's going to be set up. When that happens, we will pass that information along. But just a really tough situation. And then I could speak for all of us. Our prayers are with Wes's family here. Just an awful situation.
And real quick, and also, it's just, I can't think of days much worse than this, but Jaden Bailey, passing away, 11 in high school, incredibly inspiring story.
Yeah.
What he did, what he went through, amputating his arm and playing basketball, and prayers to him and his family too.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. That does it for us today on the show. We will be back on Monday morning at 6 a.m. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.